What's up, y'all? Welcome to Spilling the Beans with Tim Bratz. Today I'm sitting down with my buddy Shai Ades, who's out of California, originally from Ohio, but he's got a construction consulting, paper contracting kind of a business that goes around and sells outdoor type of services for a home in California. And he's got one of the best business models I have seen, right? It's quick, it's easy, it's a big cash churn, right? And he's got a huge sales team without any of the liability or responsibility or headaches or anything along those lines. So I'm excited to dive in, understand what he does, how he does it, how he consults with companies in order to help them scale up their sales and revenue. And we're talking about something that is upwards of a $800–900 billion industry that he has his finger on the pulse of, and it's super, super cool to see what he's got going on. So I'm excited for him to kind of spill the beans and share some of these insights with you. Shai, what's up, buddy?
What's up, my man?
Welcome to Charleston. Welcome to Spilling the Beans. We've been able to hang out for the past couple days and have some fun, both on the individual and personal side, and then talk a lot about business stuff too.
Absolutely.
Man. So I'm excited for this because got a little bit of a taste of what you got going on, your consulting business, and some of your backstory. But let's dive into your backstory. How did you become an entrepreneur? Did you want to be an entrepreneur? Did you start a business out of school, or what did that look like?
So I think entrepreneurship, my whole life, right? As a little kid, door to door selling toys,
Yep.
Just selling stuff, an obsession with.
On your own initiative, or was it selling candy bars?
No, my toys my parents bought me, I wasn't supposed to be selling, just the knack to want to go do business,
Yeah.
I'm working on this book, and part of it I'm writing, I had this obsession of just wanted to rub elbows with people and be a businessman, and that's what it meant to me, was to be a salesman. Mm-hmm. So it started from young kid, and then high school, I did magic. I did kids' birthday parties.
Really?
I did magic at restaurants and stuff. That led into DJing. I was DJing weddings and bar mitzvahs for $1,000 a night before I had a driver's license.
Wow.
So that was a lot of fun. My parents used to drive me. My dad would help me set up my speakers and everything.
Way.
I had little tuxedos. It was fun, But entrepreneurship has been in me forever.
That's awesome, man. And so after high school, you went to college. Actually went to Miami University, which is where I went, which is in Miami. It's in Ohio, Oxford, Ohio, and they have shirts that say Miami was a university before Florida was a state. So no offense to my Florida buddies, but Miami's been around for a longer time in Ohio than it is in Florida. I don't give a shit about any of that stuff. But we went to Miami. We didn't know each other in Miami until after.
Yep.
You knew my wife and somehow got connected over the past couple of years. And so
yeah.
What did you do after you graduated from college?
After I graduated from college, I moved to LA. I was in my parents' house in Ohio 3 days, and I couldn't be there. I'm like, I can't, I want out, My parents were gracious enough. They gave me $1,000 in a Tundra and said, if you don't make it, you can always come home, right? And I got Santa Monica. I hid in my buddy's house for 2 weeks because he didn't tell his roommates that I was staying with them.
That's funny.
So I was literally hiding throughout the time. First thing, I waited tables, right? I needed money day one.
Yep.
So just the hustler, serve pizzas. Then I started teaching surf lessons and stuff like that. And even though, I went to Miami, got this degree, I'm like, I did a couple of years of just hanging out.
What's your degree in?
I couldn't pass calculus, so I couldn't get a business degree. So I have a sociology major and a minor in urban and regional analysis.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means, but
neither do I. But now we sell, so all good, right?
I remember meeting people. When I moved out to New York, there were stockbrokers who had art degrees and stuff like that. Nobody was using their actual degree unless it was a white collar professional.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fascinating that in the business world, none of that stuff matters. And I remember a couple things from a few of my marketing classes, but dude, everything came from real world experience.
100%. You memorized it, took the test, forgot it an hour later. You know. So
100%, man. So when you went out there, you hustled for a couple of years on some odd jobs.
Odd jobs. Then got my first real job. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do corporate America, and it was selling vulnerability management software. Boiler room, huge room. tall
Banging out
tables,
calls.
banging out, calls, guns, Nerf balls thrown at your head, like disaster. 8 months later, I was fired for not selling any software. I made one deal, which actually my manager at the time sold for me, But even though I didn't learn how to sell the software, I learned so much from the management there. Copy the people that are like the top. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, right?
Yep.
Who's successful, go write down what they say. You can plagiarize their verbatim, what they're saying on the phone, say the same thing, So I got fired, and then I started interviewing professionally, every single day, 5-6 interviews a day. On a Tuesday, I went to a company, home improvement sales, selling roofing, windows, paint, and stucco, commission only. I'm like, I don't really have money, and this is commission only. It seems cool, though, because there's no office, right? You get to be out in the field all day. I'm looking at the leaderboard. Guys are selling hundreds of thousands a month. Like, this should be cool. But it was scary because it's commission only, so I kept interviewing. And that whole week, every interview I sat in, I just thought about the other one, So I went out. The first interview was on a Tuesday. I went back that Friday. The owner sat with me. He goes, "You're going to make it. I see it in you, He's like, "Just try it. Give me 30 days." And I did it, and I went through training. Back then it was a week long. I would wake up at 5 a.m. or rewrite the notes. I'd come home. I would pitch Tracy. We've been married long. This was before we were married. This is when we were like, "You think we can afford $1,500 together to rent a house?" Like, it was wild. But it worked out, and a couple months later, I was a general manager, then director of sales, and that's been my journey.
So let's talk a little bit about the sales side, because I know you filmed a course for Legacy Wealth Academy, a master class about the sales and essentially selling trades and jobs, and there's so many different strategies and tactics and techniques that you utilize in that can be used in any industry, in any
100%,
vertical, no matter what you're
100%.
doing, the psychology of it. Wait, you were a sociology major?
Sociology,
okay,
but they
not
go
psychology.
same people, same
right.
names.
But it's like the psychology of it, and it's just what's the widget, what's the service that you're selling. It can be used for anything, and so I think there's a lot of great takeaways that can be found from that course, and I want to talk about a few of those. Let's hit on a few of them. First of all, one thing that you said is, and I can sense it as you're talking, is like, dude, you like the hunt, you like the deal making, you like the, being able to solve a problem over here, solve a problem over here, and then create an opportunity, right?
Sure.
And I think that the idea of a commission-based job, everybody thinks, oh, well, I got to give somebody some sort of a base pay or a draw or something else. And what I found in sales roles is, if you give them a big base, they're not that motivated.
Sure.
Right?
Even if
you give them any base, like the sharks, right? The people that are really, really good at sales, they're like, I don't need a fucking base, right? Just give me the opportunity, give me a great product, a great service, and some of the tools in order to go and execute on this, and then they go and get it done, man.
Yeah.
So I can see that you've had that. What kind of conversations have you had? You've hired a lot of salespeople over the years, obviously in that role, in your business, in your consulting company, and helped other people, right, hire salespeople. What are the traits of a good salesperson? Like, what are you looking for? Because I'm a big believer that your first hire should always be like an executive assistant to take a bunch of non-revenue stuff off of your plate.
Sure.
And you as the business owner should focus on revenue generating activities. And then from there, your next hire, I think you need somebody to help drive revenue.
Absolutely.
Right? And so what does that hire look like? What kind of traits do you look for in a great salesperson?
We're in California, so funny enough, not from California, right?
Is it like an ego thing?
It's just it's a different upbringing. I don't mean it disrespectfully. Some people in California are amazing, but overall, like Boston, Ohio, Chicago, it's a different mentality. Mm-hmm. San Diego kids, if the surf's up, they might not come to work today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's got to be just a hard-working person, right? Best traits: poor, smart, hungry, right? Kids that come from money, they have a safety net, just like a base pay. Mm-hmm. If I don't make it, Daddy will. He just wanted me to try. Right? So it's got to be people that really just have the hunger. People that are salivating for an opportunity. And a lot of people don't give it to them, because when I was looking for a job back in the day, you need experience, right? No experience, no job. Well, if no one's giving me experience, how do I get this experience? Exactly. It's a double-edged sword type of deal.
How do you get it? So you said hungry, smart, and poor, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember when I was broke and I would be like, I'll do whatever. I was selling furniture on Craigslist from my house, right?
Yeah.
Like, I was selling DVDs when DVDs were on their way out. It was like $2, whatever, in order to get a couple of bucks in. And so, there's a little bit of that drive. So I 100% agree. You never want anybody to be comfortable, you know?
And it's not really poor either, because they're commission based, and you want them to be able to survive while they go through training. But you get what I mean in the form of like they want to do way more.
Yeah, they want more,
where they're at.
Yeah,
right?
They're not broke, but they're like they want more than what they currently have.
A lot of that my interviews is what are your goals for yourself? Where do you see yourself? And if a guy wants to make, what's the most money? I always ask, what's the most money you've ever made legally, and how much do you want to make? And it's always the same every interview. I've made 30 grand, I want to make 100K. Great, how are you going to get there? I'm going to work really hard. You have zero chance, right? Everyone's working really hard. The guy at McDonald's works really hard, right?
Washing machines work really hard.
Exactly, it's where's the plan, right? And the guys that have a plan and are willing to be coachable, because if you're not coachable, forget it, right? Then I'm intrigued, and I interview them a lot longer and longer. And then most of my interviews, at the end, it's me convincing you not to take the job, right? I want to take it away from you, and are you going to fight for it? And if you're like, no, then you're not going to make it.
Right. That's a great way, because people they want people to join the business or come onto the team, and then it's a waste of time, it's a waste of resources, a waste of energy to get the wrong person in that seat anyways. Just like, when I'm selling a property, I'm like, dude, this is a hairy deal. It's fucking pain in the ass. You're going to have to move to the property. You have to do this. I try to take the whole thing away and make it as unappealing as possible.
Absolutely.
And if I can make it really unappealing and somebody's like, I still want it, I'm like, you are the exact person I'm looking for, And so similarly with what you're doing on the sales side of things, do you run any sort of like behavioral assessment or like a DISC assessment or a Myers-Briggs personality
We've talked about it, but we don't. Just the turnover is kind of high. It's really expensive to do stuff like that. So we haven't at this point, but we do a little bit of questionnaires just in our own, like our applications on Monday.com, and we ask how they think they're going to fit our company culture and tell us experiences and stuff like that. But I'll tell you the truth, I don't do resumes, right? Anytime when I was young, I was on Google looking up adjectives, right? It's the best lie you fabricate, right? To me,
they're horrible.
Throw them out,
horrible.
Sit across the desk from me, and you'll know real quick.
Especially for a sales role, man. Like, I want to know if you can talk to somebody.
100%.
Can you look them in the eye? Can you, echo their body movement and motions and all that? Like, and do you ask fact-finding questions? I don't know. There's basic principles that you want to try to pull from someone if they're especially.
Do I enjoy talking to you? Period.
Yeah. And is somebody else going to enjoy talking to you? Right?
Yeah.
No, that's great, man. So you go through the sales thing. Oh, here's another question. You got elevated in the sales process. You were a great salesperson, and then they moved you to a sales manager.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a good move? For most business owners, taking one of their top sales guys and putting him into a manager position.
No, I have failed personally doing it many times.
Right. That's what I've seen, man.
So
Dude, they're a great salesperson. It's two different skill sets to be a salesperson versus a manager of salespeople, right?
Yeah, it's also the mentality, right? Why does this person want to be a manager? A lot of salespeople want to be a manager because I'm going to work less and make more.
Yep.
And generally, the first couple months until they start building what you're paying them to manage, they get paid less because they have less time to go sell. And now they have to build a team because you're not going to just hand them override or anything. It's when you create something, you're going to get paid off that.
Right.
And then they see how hard it is and how long it takes, and people don't want to do it, right? So I think people with management skills need to be managers. Although I have, back in the day at an old company, we took one guy and he made it, but it's a rare gem, just like I was.
Yeah, I agree. It's like there's very few people that have both the sales side and the operational skill set, and usually those people are going to take what they know and then they're going to go start a new business, right?
Yeah,
they can do
absolutely. You just equip them with everything to go.
Which is okay. If that's better suited for them, then by all means they should do that. But they don't stay in that role, I guess is my point. And you're always going to have to backfill somehow because of that. So you scaled it into that business and kept on getting elevated in that company, and then you eventually left and started your own, right?
Yep.
So what was that process like of becoming a business owner as opposed to working in the business, having your own business?
So, it was totally different. The stress and the financial stress and everything goes with you. I did have a partner in that business that helped at times, but you got to find the right partner. I'm sure, you've been in business a long time. Partners is very, very difficult. And the way it starts and the way it ends is very different, and money changes people like you've never seen.
Both ways. It changes people. When you make a lot of money, people think that when things go bad, you see the real side of somebody. Maybe, but I've seen people get very evil when they make a lot of money too.
Absolutely.
Right? It's like not only when things are going bad, but when things are going really good, you see this different creature that comes out from some people, and you see how they behave and how they react and how they respond, and it gets hairy, man. Like, I'm not a fan of most partnerships unless you've dated for a very long time, you've worked together on a very long time. I'd rather see somebody test out the relationship by, let's joint venture for 60 days, 90 days, or on this specific deal or this specific opportunity, or work together because you want to work together, not because you're forced to by a contract to work together, So tell me a little bit about your experience in partnerships, and what are some key things that people should look for when they're starting a partnership?
I mean, clear-cut goals and who the person is. Like you said, you really got to know the person inside out. And the hardest part really is everyone always thinks the other person doesn't deserve what you deserve, right? Like, you want to go on vacation. How do you feel when they're on vacation?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You were okay in the Bahamas, but they don't get a week in the Bahamas, right? So you really got to think yourself all these things, and I've had some really great friends that have really changed my perspective, because I didn't come out of a healthy relationship, partnership, right? So my mentality is very that of kind of an abused child. I hate saying it like that.
No, there's
so
PTSD to it.
I always think about, don't treat my new partner the way I was treated, right? Don't do that to them. Don't do that to them. How did you feel, right? But I think it's a beautiful thing if you have a mutual respect and you want to see each other grow. And my partner's a couple of years younger than me. He doesn't own real estate, and every day I'm like, dude, you're gonna get your first condo this year, or you're gonna do an FHA loan, 4-unit property. He's like, no, I'm not. I'm like, yes, you are. You're not wasting an FHA loan on a single property, like. Because I want to see him level up, and he just got a new car, and he just got a new penthouse apartment, and like, to me, that's like the best part of ownership, is watching ordinary people become extraordinary, watching everyone level up.
I love that, man. No, I agree 100%. Like, I'm like, what else do we want? What else do we want to accomplish? How much more do we want to impact? How much more do we want to give? How much more do we want to donate? Like, what's a vacation that you want to go on?
And that's why you're successful and people follow you, right? It's like people see the intention and the heart of the leaders so quick.
And I do think it's one of those things where if you lead with good intentions, you'll attract people with good intentions. Now, there's a couple people who are going to take advantage, but usually they spin themselves out pretty quickly, or it gets exposed pretty quickly, Now, I think building a team is not an easy process. It's not an easy thing to do, and especially partnering. I go back to this 10,000 hour rule, right? Like, the 10,000 hours, it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at anything, because you've been through all the pitfalls, you've been through all the wins, all the losses, you've gotten slapped in the face enough times, and experienced enough things in whatever the endeavor is, whether it's learning how to play piano, or learn how to speak Spanish, or a business that you're starting out. It takes 10,000 hours, which 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year is 2,000 in 1 year. It takes 5 years to become an expert at anything, full time, right? And so then you start thinking of, there's a lot of parallels in that with finding a business partner, right? Finding a spouse, finding whoever, and understanding, like, you don't see everything unless you've been through this amount of time with somebody.
100%.
And you see the goods and you see the bads and you see how they respond. And that's what I found with a lot of my team members is, like, as soon as we hit like that 5-year mark, I was like, we've been through some skinny years. We've been through some really good years, right? We've made money, we've not made money. These guys would help me bury a body if I needed them to, right?
We talked about that last night. It's just unbelievable. The culture is everything.
And I vested them into equity after 5-6 years of working together, And I think that's, but I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't advise anybody to bring on a partner right out of the gate. I think a lot of people start a partnership because they're scared.
Absolutely.
And then that's not a good reason to have a business partner. You should have a business partner because they complement your skill sets, right?
100%.
And they support you in what you do, and you can do things better. They can cover your weak side, you can cover their weak side. You're not dancing on each other's strengths at all, and I think that's why you should have a really good. And more importantly than even that is, what do the core values look like, man? And if 100%. The core values don't align, then nothing else will. You know?
Yeah.
So, all right. So tell me more about. Started the business, learned a few things. That business partnership didn't work out.
Correct.
And it's put you in a position where now you consult with other companies that kind of do that and help them grow the business. So tell me a little bit about, I don't know, if you want to dive into that, whether it's private or not, like we can leave that, or we can dive into more, what are some of the advisory type things and the kind of the auditing. If somebody wants to scale their trades business, what are the kinds of questions that you would ask them and things that you would want to make sure that they have in place?
Sure.
In order to have a successful business, multiple 7-figure business.
So putting it all together to answer all of it. So now I'm consulting. We'll use title remodeling as a prime example. So one of my dearest friends, Tyler, he owns title remodeling, has some partners in it, and I consult them. We started that with the consulting and them starting in June 23, and they did over $5 million last year in just a short amount of time, right? And it comes from having the people to do what's necessary, right?
$5 million in 7-8 months?
Yeah. So right now they're going to do $1.5 million this month and growing and growing and growing. So we started out, we rented 2,300 square feet, and then the unit next door came, and we weren't quite ready for it, but it was 1,400 square feet, and I wanted to be able to have the opportunity to get them to 50 sales reps.
Yeah.
So we just knocked down the wall. We just furnished the whole place, and our goal for this year is we're hiring canvassers right now like crazy. We got hired like 10 in the last week. They're the ones that go door knocking for our leads.
Let's talk about the process. Let's talk about how they make money and how they generate revenue.
Sure.
And then I want to get back to
what does
the goal setting look like, and what does the next 12 or 24 months look like. So talk a little bit about the business model. And the business model is primarily them having these canvassers knock on doors, and they say, hey, I don't know if you know this, but I had a painting company in college. And so I would go and knock on doors and say, hey, your siding looks a little bit thirsty, right? You got some paint chipping over here. And I had 3 crews of college buddies, like 4 guys on the crew. There were about 10, 12 people working for me over the summer. And I'd knock on the door. I'd drive back from Miami and up to Cleveland, Ohio, and I worked all around Cleveland. And I'd knock on doors in the wintertime, and then I'd set up all these jobs for the summertime, and we'd take deposits, right? I'd say, hey, your siding looks thirsty. Can I come back next week and give you a quote?
I love it.
I'd go and give them a quote. I'd take a deposit, and then we'd schedule out the jobs for June, July, August, when we were out of school. And so similarly, you guys do a lot of that, but obviously you got to move quicker because everybody's full time, right?
But it's the business model is called a one-call close shop. So our goal is exactly that, to make one visit to a homeowner and close them. So we get leads from home shows, Home Advisor, computers, Google, like but 95% of it is, like you said, we have door knockers. So they come every single day to the office. We go out to new turf every day, and they literally knock all day long. Similar to what you said. Hey, I noticed you're missing shingles.
It's a lost business model, man. It's so powerful, and nobody does it.
It's so powerful. People are above it, and everyone says, oh, I would never do it, but here we are, $1.5 million a month, doing it. And there's companies way bigger. I was telling you about one on the East Coast. They do they're going to do $1 billion this year in roofing and siding with the exact same model, right? So the goal is just to create need and urgency to get that lead. Yep. Our goal is to either run the lead the same day, like, hey, my guy will be here in 2 hours, or the next day.
So the canvassers aren't the ones giving the actual quote. They're essentially
They just open it up and set up a free inspection.
Putting the ball on the tee kind of a thing, letting somebody else come in and knock it out.
Once they leave your house, they put it in their CRM. It pings a confirmer at the office. She calls you, hey, Tim, James was just at your door. Was he kind and polite? Just want to confirm we're going to see you and your spouse, Kate, at 1234 Maple Avenue tomorrow, 6 o'clock. Here's what's going to happen. Next day, a sales rep goes out. This is not an interested appointment. This is a free inspection that they got talked into. And right now, these guys are closing, depending on the guy, 40 to 60% of the leads on a one-call close visit. So they get trained.
But they're obvious. It's like the pain points there, right? Like you can walk by, because the stuff that you guys are doing are like pavers, and it's concrete.
It's everything on the
concrete?
exterior.
Yeah.
It's concrete, pavers, windows, paint, roofing, solar.
And so it's all stuff that you can see that is an obvious need.
Yeah.
Which like, I would go knock on the door and say, hey, your siding looks thirsty. It's all dried out. Like
they can see it right there.
I'm doing stuff,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh shit! Some random strangers driving by my house, seeing the paint peeling, which I see every single time I pull into my driveway, right? And now strangers are noticing it. Like, I should probably get this work done.
Right, and then it's just the qualifying questions get you to think about it and stuff like that. And now it becomes a need.
Right.
Right.
100%, man. And so then they go out there, they do a walk around, they sit down with them, hey, here's what we got going on.
2.5, 3 hour presentation at your house. I absolutely hate comparing it, but it's the timeshare of home improvements, right? You went to the timeshare presentation for free Disney tickets and you just bought a timeshare, right? We sold you a roof, right?
Yep.
But we have certified installers backed by the manufacturer. We give you the biggest warranties, and you remodeled your house without ever getting off your couch.
Yep. I mean, truly, there's work I want done at my house, here in Charleston, that I just don't have time to pick up the phone and call somebody, right? Like, if somebody came and knocked on my door and said, hey, listen, I'm doing pressure washing and painting in the neighborhood this summer, do you want any work done? I'd be like, yes, I want it done this week, right? I want it done this month.
Yeah.
And thank you for knocking on my door, because I just don't have time to find and sift through all these other people. If you had the initiative to come and knock on my door, you probably have the initiative to get the fucking job done, you know?
You know what else it does? Eliminates competition. Because if you were shopping on Google, you're not calling one guy. You're going to Google and call 3 guys and get your 3 bids. But I knocked on your door. It wasn't even in your mind, right? We showed you the need. We showed you the solution. Sign here.
You're exactly right.
You know?
You're exactly right.
And we offer financing. So we walk out of the house with a deposit, with an agreement, with colors chosen, and the financing in place.
Wow.
And then we have a production team, and they're going to call you the next day. Hey, Tim, welcome to the family. Can't wait to do your project. My foreman's going to be out there tomorrow to remeasure, the old school mentality, measure the job twice, order the material one time.
Yep.
I'll give you a call the next day. And then when we work on the house, we call our installers every morning, followed by you every single day. We talk to you every day. Midway through, I'm going to send a rep to check on you. In the meantime of the checkup, he's going to upsell you gutters, insulation, solar, another project, because our average homeowner buys 3 products from us.
Really?
Because we just stay in mind, and we send you emails,
I mean, the service
and we
is
stay,
so good,
you know,
that you're like, oh, if these guys did this good of a, because dude, nobody does good work in the construction side of things. Everything's over time, everything's over budget. Dude, nobody communicates, right? You're worried about them
The communication is the biggest thing we find. We send surveys to every single homeowner. 95% of the time, no one says anything about the paint job or the roof. All they say is, your staff's amazing. You guys talked to us throughout the whole job. The crew was so, like, nothing to do with the color of the paint or anything like that. People just want to be spoken to. You're spending money on your house. People are emotional about their home and their money, and we're working with their home and their money.
Yep. No, dude, I love your business model. I think it's absolutely
I appreciate
brilliant,
that.
and I think it's so, because the other thing is, you guys close a deal and you get paid 100% within
2 weeks.
1 to 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Unless it's solar and it's got to go to permits. Windows take 4 to 5 weeks to make, but I mean, we have cash flow consistent.
That's the beauty of it, and a lot of it is, you know, the sales reps, and then you guys sub it out, right?
Yeah.
To the subcontractors, and then you can kind of eliminate some of the risk, because if you guarantee 2 years to the homeowner, you make sure that the contractor guarantees 2 years to you, and you're kind of just in the middle, but you make sure that everybody's doing their part, right?
Yeah.
Dude, I think it's a brilliant, brilliant model. So, all right, let's go back. What's the goal? How do you scale this thing? Do you just need more canvassers? You just need more?
So, like for title, for example, that office, my goal right now for this year is to get to $5 million a month. So they need more leads and they need more salesmen, right? One of my favorite things to say is men and women lie, numbers don't, right? The whole business is a mathematic equation. I know that if we confirm the leads and put them through our process, if you run 3 leads, you're going to sit on 1 appointment for sure. If you sit on 3 appointments, you're going to sell 1 sale, right? So it's on a 33% basis. And that's the low water mark.
And you set that expectation for your sales guys, and now they know what to expect.
Yeah.
You know, if you tell them you're only going to get 1 out of 3, and guess what? Half the people don't show up, or half the people, or 2/3 of the people cancel. When that happens, they're not discouraged.
They're not discouraged. They're not heartbroken, right? And some of them increase it, and some of them lower it, right? but it's a numbers game. So we just reverse engineer, right? How many leads? I know if I get 160 leads a week, I can get to $2 million a month.
Yep.
Right? So if I want to get to 5 million, I'm going to need, more than double that.
Simple math,
and
man.
we're going to just need more canvassers. And then the goal is, how do we make this so repeatable that we can open other locations? And if someone wanted, a legacy member wanted to open up Title Remodeling Charleston,
Yep.
Here's the branding, here's the logo, here's the shirts, here's everything.
Yep.
Go print hundreds of thousands every single month, because that's what it spits out.
Yeah, and the process is that the goal eventually, and then just like almost franchise the idea, franchise the model, and then,
I think so.
and then take it out that way.
Yeah, and then also just to consult. There's so many businesses that do this.
Right.
I talked to so many guys, roofing companies, that did 500,000 in sales last year. I'm like, dude, you could do $1 million a month. Just let me give you the process,
bro. I think the play is you come in and you consult with all these different companies, right? Maybe there's a franchise model, maybe there's whatever that looks like, but the beauty of it is if they're all in the same franchise model, or there's some sort of cohesiveness across all of them, dude, now you got multiple businesses that are doing somewhere between $10 to $100 million a year in revenue. You could package them all up and say, hey guys, if I get a private equity firm to come in and pay some sort of ridiculous multiple, we're selling, right? It's just a roll up of a whole bunch of different
100%.
companies. And being able to do something like that, man, these PE firms would absolutely come in and write a big check, and everybody would get paid a bigger multiple because it's a
roll up. Yeah,
it's a bigger roll up. So I think there's a huge opportunity there for you too. And do you guys do anything with the commercial side, or is it all
residential? It's all residential. It's just a different process.
Yeah, you can't knock on the door of a landlord, right? Unless you did knock on my door and by accident, I'm like, by the way, I own this 200-unit apartment complex. Come in, do the paint, do the flooring, do the fixtures.
100%. The only part where it differs there is so we do a lifetime warranty in paint and stucco. We do a 50-year roof. So we're kind of like the Mercedes-Benz, whereas most landlords aren't putting Mercedes-Benzes on that. They do it on their private house, but not on the income stream. So it's a little tough when it comes to the commercial.
Yeah, I could see that, man. And it throws a cog in the wheel also, because you're like, this isn't a 2-week job, right? This is a 2-month, a 12-month job. And
sometimes those margins are so skinny
exactly
that if you go do 40 residential roofs in that time period, you were way better off.
Yep. No, that makes a lot of sense, man. That's great, man. So bring it home. Tell me about, if what's a good question to end on? Cam, you got to edit this part, okay? I love your business model.
I'll tell you, it's a $600 billion business model. It takes a few $100,000 to get started. And if you get sales, you start printing money day one.
What's the cost? What does the money go towards?
You need to buy a van for canvassers, right? You need liability insurance. You need a website. You need some shirts. It's minimal.
Yeah.
You need to be presentable to go present to people.
Yep.
Shirts,
dude,
hats.
that's the beauty of it. Is when I had my painting company, I would go out and I would sell the jobs and take out 25 to 50% deposits for whatever it was, 3 months leading up to the summer, and then I had enough money to go and buy all the material.
Jobs. Yeah.
Right. And I could buy the ladders, and I could buy the sprayers, and I could buy the canvases and all this other stuff. It allowed me to do that. Where I literally only had $100, and all I did is I bought door hangers.
Yeah.
And then I knocked on doors, and I built a business that fed 10, 12 of my buddies over the summer and myself, and then I was able to go and study abroad and burn all that money, studying abroad. So it's such a good model. And do you think it could work all over the country?
Yeah.
Do you think it could work up in the Northeast?
I mean, I think I could train guys to door knock with an iPad and sell snowplow contracts today.
Yeah, I mean, that's the key.
Literally. Sign right here. Here's your $150 a month for the, 4 or 5 minutes speech, and you train them, handle some rebuttals. You could do pest control. You can do gutter cleaning. You can do filtration system, tree trimming.
Water filtration.
There's hundreds, Gunner is teach me how to door knock so I can go find out which people want to sell their house. I'm like, Gunner, go knock, and just ask some questions. But It happens with us. My guys find out that people, we're not going to do the roof, we're going to sell, right? So you can learn how to do some real estate on the side too, because you're sitting at the kitchen table and people are telling you things that they haven't even told the MLS yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this can translate to any business model, especially just like the hustle, the training aspect, and sales is vocabulary, right? We teach vocabulary. There's 100 ways to ask a question. The way you ask it determines how you're going to respond to me, right? And we just teach guys, like especially with the door knocking. If you ask a man, "What's your wife's name?" He's not going to like it. You're not going to say, "Oh, her name's Kate. Why do you want to know?" Blah, 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 right? But if I'm writing down, getting your information, and Tim, how do I spell your spouse's name? K-A-T-E, right? Well, I got the info I wanted, right? Same thing, like, what's your phone number? I'm not giving you my phone number. Just in case we're running late. We really value your time. Best number to get a hold of you, 619-216.
Yep.
So that's what we really like to teach.
I love it, man. It's just there's so many psychological components. Are those all going to be in your book?
A lot of them are in the book.
Yeah.
Just got to finish. Got to finish. I'm more critical of myself, and it's 90% done.
Yeah.
But now we got a timeline.
Yeah, I know. I love it. Well, dude, I appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you so much.
So much good insight. I got to come out to San Diego and see the operation.
You already know it's booked for you, so let's do it.
Appreciate you, brother. Hey, hopefully you guys got some good takeaways from that. Make sure you're connected with Shai. He's on social media. He's a great dude. As smart as he is in business, he's even more fun in person and just a great human to be around. So make sure you're connected with him on social media. And I don't know, it sounds like he might be either franchising this or looking for people to partner with around the country. And if it sounds like something you'd be interested in, definitely hit him up. Again, he's got good values. He's somebody who really knows his industry, really knows his craft, and is somebody great to learn from and partner with. So connect with him, and we will be back here next week on Spilling the Beans on Sunday. Be your best.